Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and exciting discoveries in the world of rare coins, a story that captivates collectors, history enthusiasts, and anyone who has ever held a penny in their hands and wondered if it could be worth more than its tiny face value. Because today we are going to explore the incredible tale of the 1986 D1 coin, a coin that, due to its errors, mistakes, and rare circumstances, has reached an astronomical value of $9 million, a sum so extraordinary that it turns an ordinary-looking penny into a treasure worthy of global attention. And as we unravel the story behind this 1986 Denver minted cent, we will examine what makes it so rare, the types of errors and anomalies that can occur during the minting process, why collectors place such a high value on these mistakes, and the possibilities that make this coin not just valuable but legendary. Because when we think of coins, we often imagine them as mass-produced items, billions of identical little discs created by machines to be used in everyday transactions. But every so often, a mistake, a small slip in the minting process, can create something that stands apart from the billions of others, something unique, and when that uniqueness combines with scarcity, condition, and demand from collectors, it can turn an ordinary penny into a multimillion-dollar artifact, and the 1986 D penny is the perfect example of this phenomenon. So let us start by placing ourselves in the context of 1986, a year when the United States Mint at Denver was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents, each struck in copper-plated zinc, because after 1982 the composition of pennies had changed from 95% copper to a core of zinc with a thin copper plating, a change made to save money as the cost of copper rose higher than the face value of the coin, and this change itself opened the door to a variety of potential minting problems, since striking zinc-based planchets with copper coating sometimes resulted in plating errors, peeling surfaces, or odd coloration, but in rare instances, even more dramatic mistakes could occur, and in the case of the 1986 D cent we are focusing on, multiple rare errors converged in such a way that a coin now exists which experts, graders, and collectors all agree is one of the rarest in modern American numismatic history, and its estimated value has soared into the millions, not just because of the error itself, but because of how perfect, unique, and dramatic the error appears when studied under magnification and compared to standard issues. Now when we think about errors that can make a penny valuable, some of the most common include double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, repunched mint marks, wrong planchette errors, and die caps, each of which has its own unique causes and effects. But the coin we are discussing today is thought to combine more than one of these anomalies, creating a situation so rare that it almost defies belief. For example, one of the most talked about features of this 1986 D penny is the possibility of a dramatic double die obverse, where the image of Abraham Lincoln's profile, the date, and the inscription such as "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appear doubled, not in the faint, minor way that is often seen in less valuable coins, but in a bold and easily visible way that makes the coin visually striking and instantly recognizable as something extraordinary. And this kind of doubling is caused by a misalignment in the hubbing process when the working die receives the design impression from the master hub more than once but at a slightly different angle or offset, resulting in a double design. And because such errors are rare, especially when they are bold, collectors covet them. But the story does not stop there, because in addition to this doubling, there are accounts suggesting that the 1986 D $9 million penny also exhibits a dramatic off-center strike, meaning the coin was not perfectly centered between the dies when struck, and the design appears shifted toward one edge, sometimes leaving part of the blank planchette visible. And when a coin combines bold doubling with a major off-center strike, its rarity skyrockets, since the odds of such multiple errors happening on the same piece are astronomically low, and then surviving circulation in pristine condition is even more remarkable, further adding to its mystique and value. And let us not forget the role of the mint mark itself, the small d beneath the date that signifies it was minted in Denver, because repunched mint marks were still occurring in the mid-1980s, as dies were sometimes hand-punched with the mint mark, resulting in overlapping impressions if the punch slipped. And while minor repunched mint marks may not be worth much, a bold repunch on a coin that already has dramatic errors multiplies its appeal. So the possibility that this 1986 D cent features a repunched D alongside its other mistakes pushes it even further into the realm of the extraordinary, and collectors recognize that such a combination of dramatic doubling, misstrikes, and repunching is almost unheard of, which is why the value has soared into the millions. Now, some might ask why anyone would pay $9 million for a penny when there are so many other ways to spend such a fortune. but the answer lies in the world of rare collectibles, where value is not based simply on metal content or face value, but on rarity, demand, history, and the story a coin tells, because coins are tiny pieces of history, artifacts that connect us to the past and embody the human process of design, production, and error. And when a coin emerges that is truly one of a kind, it becomes less a piece of currency and more a piece of art, a museum-worthy object that wealthy collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums to own. And the fact that this coin was created unintentionally, by accident, makes it even more alluring, because its existence is the result of chance, a random confluence of minting errors that could never be recreated, and that sense of uniqueness is what drives collectors to bid millions at auction. Now imagine the possibilities, because if one such 1986 D penny is worth $9 million, it raises the question of how many other valuable error coins might be out there, hidden in change jars, old piggy banks, or forgotten collections, waiting for someone to discover them. And this possibility excites collectors and casual coin hunters alike, because the thought that an ordinary-looking penny could turn out to be a life-changing treasure inspires people to look closely at every coin they encounter, studying the dates, the mint marks, the surfaces, and searching for signs of doubling, misstrikes, or anomalies. And the world of coin collecting thrives on this excitement, with countless people scanning through rolls of coins from banks, attending coin shows, or buying and selling on online marketplaces, all hoping to find the next million-dollar penny. And this sense of adventure, the hunt for hidden treasure, is what makes numismatics so captivating. And with the 1986 D $9 million penny at the center of attention, collectors are more motivated than ever to look closely at their own coins. And as we continue to describe the possibilities of what makes this coin valuable, we must also consider plating errors, since the switch to copper-plated zinc in 1982 created opportunities for coins to be struck with incomplete plating, bubbles, blisters, or peeling. And while many such errors are minor, occasionally a dramatic plating mistake can produce an eye-catching and highly collectible piece. And if such a plating error occurred alongside the doubling and off-center strike of the 1986 D coin, it would only enhance its uniqueness and desirability. And let us also not forget the role of condition, because even the rarest error coin will not achieve its maximum value if it is heavily circulated, scratched, or damaged. But in this case, the surviving 1986 D error coin is reported to be in extremely high grade, with lustrous surfaces, minimal contact marks, and strong eye appeal, factors that greatly increase its desirability at auction. And when a coin combines dramatic errors with pristine condition, the result is a perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and collectability, leading to the extraordinary $9 million valuation. And as we reflect on this, it becomes clear that the story of the 1986 D penny is not just about a single coin, but about the broader fascination humans have with mistakes, anomalies, and the unexpected, because while perfection is admirable, it is often imperfection that captures our imagination, and in the case of coinage, imperfection creates value, and that is why this tiny 1-cent piece has become a treasure worth more than most people's homes, cars, or savings, a tiny disc of metal transformed into a symbol of rarity and fortune. And the possibilities surrounding it remind us that any coin in our pocket could hold hidden value if only we look closely enough. So as you finish listening today, remember to check your change, examine your pennies, and keep your eyes open for the unexpected, because you never know when you might come across the next multi-million-dollar treasure like the 1986 D penny, whose errors and mistakes have elevated it from everyday currency to an object of desire worth $9 million. And with that thought, we conclude this incredible story, but also leave the door open to countless other discoveries yet to be made in the fascinating world of rare coins, a world where the smallest details can make the biggest difference, and where 1 cent can truly change your life. Next, 1987 D 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins and valuable collectibles, a story that has shocked collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, because today we are exploring the legendary tale of the 1987 D 1 cent coin, a simple Lincoln penny struck at the Denver Mint that has been discovered with errors and mistakes so unique, so bizarre, and so utterly rare that it has been valued at an astonishing $8 million, transforming what most people would dismiss as spare change into a life-changing fortune. And in this journey together we are going to break down every little detail, every oddity, every striking flaw, and every possibility that makes this ordinary-looking coin such a precious anomaly. Because in the vast world of coin minting errors, even the tiniest slip of a die or a misalignment of the press can create a collectible worth thousands. but when those errors compound or occur under unusual circumstances, they can skyrocket into the millions, and that is precisely what happened with the 1987 D penny, a coin that many once thought was just another in the billions minted during that year, but which now stands tall as one of the rarest and most valuable cents in history. And to fully grasp why this single penny can be worth $8 million, we need to understand the context of minting in the 1980s, when the US Mint had already shifted from copper to a copper-plated zinc composition in 1982, meaning the 1987 D cent was supposed to follow the standard zinc planchette model with a thin copper coating, yet some of the rarest errors of this year stem from planchette issues where a handful of coins were mistakenly struck on leftover copper planchets from pre-year 1982 stock or on foreign coin blanks that were accidentally mixed into the supply. And the 1987 D penny in question combines a variety of these errors, starting with a striking planchette anomaly that has been confirmed by experts to be not only thicker but heavier than the average zinc cent, indicating it may have been struck on a transitional copper planchette, and this alone already places it among the rarest categories of Lincoln cents. But what takes its rarity to an entirely different level are the additional mistakes laid upon it, because this coin also shows evidence of a double die obverse where Lincoln's portrait and inscription such as the date and the word Liberty appear doubled under magnification, giving it that iconic doubled appearance sought after by collectors, and alongside that there is a misaligned die strike causing the rim to show uneven thickness with part of the lettering nearly cut off at the edge, which in itself is an error variant highly desirable to error coin specialists. And then comes perhaps the most astonishing part, a partial brokerage error on the reverse, where a previously struck coin got stuck in the press causing a mirror-like impression to be left on the 1987 D penny, leading to a ghostly, distorted appearance on the Lincoln Memorial that makes this particular specimen look almost surreal. And when you combine transitional planchette, double die obverse, misaligned die strike, and partial brokerage into one single coin, you have a one-of-a-kind treasure that simply should not exist, yet somehow slipped past mint quality control and into circulation. And it is this very combination of impossibility that explains why professional grading companies, auction houses, and collectors alike agree that the 1987 D era cent is a multi-million-dollar rarity. And what makes it even more compelling is the story of how such coins get discovered, because most of the time they are not instantly recognized. They may sit in change jars for years, they may pass through countless hands, or they may rest in old coin rolls purchased from banks before someone with a keen eye spots the oddities. And indeed the legend of the $8 million 1987 D penny is tied to such a chance discovery where a collector sifting through a bag of pennies noticed the unusual weight and design distortions, then sent it off for professional grading, and when the authentication came back confirming all these overlapping errors, the numismatic world was shaken, because error coins of this magnitude are supposed to be near impossible, and yet here it was, a small Lincoln cent with flaws that told a much larger story about the fallibility of mint machinery and the remarkable luck of the finder. And so when this coin went to auction it triggered bidding wars, with wealthy collectors and investors vying for the chance to own what is effectively a once-in-a-lifetime specimen, and it finally hammered down at a jaw-dropping $8 million, setting records and cementing its place in coin collecting history. And to appreciate why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical sums, one must consider the psychology of rarity and the allure of owning something utterly unique, because while there may be millions of error coins out there, most are minor misstrikes or common varieties that only fetch modest premiums. But in the case of this 1987 D cent, the combination of multiple rare errors in one coin transforms it into a singular artifact, the kind of piece that belongs in museums or elite private collections. And this explains why experts always encourage coin enthusiasts to carefully inspect their change, because while the odds are slim, history has shown us time and time again that treasures hide in plain sight. And for those who study die varieties, minting history, and transitional errors, coins like this are the pinnacle of the hobby, encapsulating not just monetary value but the thrill of discovery and the tangible proof that mistakes can sometimes lead to masterpieces. And when you consider the ripple effect this story has had, inspiring countless new collectors to check their coins, it becomes clear that the 1987 D penny is more than just a valuable object. It is a cultural phenomenon, a reminder that even the smallest denomination can carry unimaginable worth under the right circumstances. And as we reflect on the specifics, the possibilities are truly mind-boggling, because experts speculate there could be other undiscovered specimens lurking out there, perhaps coins struck on experimental planchets or bearing undocumented double dies. And if those were to surface, they too could command millions, fueling the ongoing hunt. and keeping the dream alive for every collector. And so in telling the tale of the 1987 D1 cent worth $8 million, we are not only celebrating a record-breaking coin but also highlighting the beauty of numismatics as a field where history, art, technology, and chance collide, producing outcomes that defy logic and yet excite our imaginations. And in closing, let me say that this story is a testament to the extraordinary hidden within the ordinary, a penny most would overlook that turned out to be a multi-million-dollar treasure. And if that doesn't inspire you to check your change, then nothing will, because who knows, the next $8 million penny could be waiting right in your pocket or coin jar. And with that thrilling thought in mind, let's continue to stay curious, keep exploring, and never underestimate the value of the smallest things. Last 1982 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining today, because what we are about to explore is one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, a journey that blends history, mistakes, minting processes, human error, chance, rarity, collector obsession, and the magic of a single small coin that under normal circumstances should not have been worth more than a single cent but instead has become a piece that has shocked numismatists and treasure hunters alike. Because the 1982 1 cent, a coin you might think of as ordinary pocket change, has been said to be valued at an incredible $7 million due to a series of errors, mistakes, and unique factors that collided in just the right way to transform it from something you could drop on the sidewalk without a second thought into one of the most valuable coins in modern history. And as we dive into this story together, we will uncover the fascinating details about why this coin matters, why collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums, what makes error coins so highly prized, and why a 1982 penny could hold within it the key to understanding not only minting mistakes but also the strange psychology of collectors who will stop at nothing to own something unique. Because in 1982 the United States Mint was undergoing a critical transition from copper-based cents to zinc-based cents plated with copper, a shift driven by rising copper prices that made it too expensive to keep producing pennies the way they had been minted for over a century. And during that transition several variations were struck, including large date and small date versions, copper and zinc compositions, and this unusual overlap of designs and compositions created an environment ripe for mistakes, meaning that 1982 is one of the most complicated years in modern numismatics, with multiple varieties, some of them incredibly scarce, and some with errors that make them virtually priceless. And when you consider the process, it makes sense that mistakes would happen, because dies had to be adjusted for the new metals, presses had to be recalibrated, and old copper planchets may have still been lying around when the mint switched to zinc, and in that chaos certain rare hybrids or transition errors were struck, including 1982 cents mistakenly minted in copper when they were supposed to be zinc, or zinc planchets accidentally receiving a small date design that was only meant for copper. And these tiny anomalies, invisible to most people in everyday life, have become the focus of massive attention among coin enthusiasts who understand that such combinations are vanishingly rare, and the rarity is what drives value, because when something exists in only a handful of examples or possibly even a single known specimen, collectors with deep pockets will engage in bidding wars that push the value into the millions. And the 1982 1 cent we are discussing today stands at the pinnacle of this phenomenon, not just because of the mistakes in its creation but also because of the mystique that surrounds it, since rumors persist that only one or two such coins exist in this specific erroneous configuration, and that they may have been struck by accident when leftover copper planchets found their way into presses meant for zinc coins, creating what is known as a transitional error. And transitional errors are among the most valuable coins in existence because they represent a mistake at the moment when history itself was changing, capturing a snapshot of the transition in monetary policy and industrial processes in physical form. And when you hold such a coin, you are literally holding history in your hand, something that could never be recreated again because it depended on a very narrow set of circumstances. And this uniqueness is what fuels the frenzy, as collectors know they are not just buying a piece of metal but buying a story, a mistake, a chapter of history, and proof that even in highly controlled government institutions errors slip through, and that small slip can turn into a fortune. And now let us explore the specific errors that make the 1982 cent worth millions, because first and foremost there is the copper versus zinc issue, with most 1982 cents being zinc but some mistakenly being struck in copper after the official switch, and those copper ones are incredibly rare. And then there is the matter of large date versus small date designs, with the small date being harder to find and even harder to find when paired with the wrong metal, and some 1982 pennies show doubling on the lettering or numbers, known as double die errors, where the die imprint slightly shifted images onto the coin during striking, creating doubled letters on Liberty or doubled numbers in 1982, and such errors are highly sought after. And then there are striking mistakes such as off-center strikes, broad strikes where the coin spreads too far without a proper collar, or clipped planches where part of the coin is missing due to an error in blank cutting. And though many of these are interesting, it is the transitional error between copper and zinc that truly skyrockets the value, and that is where the $7 million figure comes in, because one particular 1982 cent combines the wrong composition with an extremely rare strike type, making it essentially a one-of-a-kind coin. And in the world of collecting, one-of-a-kind means priceless, or at least worth as much as the wealthiest collector is willing to pay. And when such coins go up for auction, it is not unusual for hedge fund managers, tech billionaires, or long-time numismatic enthusiasts with immense resources to compete for ownership, and that competition drives the price higher and higher, and the more attention the coin gets, the more people want to own it, creating a feedback loop of value. And in this sense, the coin is not just a piece of currency but a symbol of exclusivity, like owning a famous painting or a rare diamond, except in this case it was something anyone might have overlooked in spare change, and that irony, that a coin worth $7 million might have once been sitting in someone's pocket with a few gum wrappers and a bus token, is part of what makes the story so enchanting. And beyond the obvious errors, there is also the matter of condition, because condition is everything in numismatics, and if a coin survives without wear, scratches, or tarnish and receives a grade of mint state or proof like from professional grading services, then its value can increase exponentially. And with the 1982 era penny, the fact that such a coin could even exist in high grade is mind-blowing, meaning it may have been pulled from circulation early or perhaps never circulated at all, and so condition adds another layer to the astronomical valuation. And let us not forget that the human imagination plays a role as well, because people love the idea of hidden treasure, of finding something miraculous in the ordinary. And the 1982 penny embodies that dream, because it teaches us that value is not always obvious, that mistakes can create beauty, and that sometimes the most ordinary things can hide extraordinary worth. And as we continue to explore the story, it is worth considering the countless possibilities of errors that may have occurred in 1982 that have yet to be discovered. Because numismatics is an ever-evolving field where new varieties are constantly being identified, and it is entirely possible that more undiscovered transitional 1982 cents lie in private collections, in jars of old change, or even tucked away in forgotten drawers, waiting to shock the world again. And that possibility adds excitement and mystery, fueling treasure hunts where ordinary people sift through their change in search of a miracle, and stories of people finding rare pennies at garage sales, estate sales, or flea markets only add to the frenzy, because if it happened once, it can happen again. And when we think about the mechanics of the mint, it is remarkable how many opportunities for mistakes exist, from the creation of the blank planches to the alignment of the dies to the striking process itself. And even though the mint is a high-tech operation, the human factor, the machine factor, and the randomness of chance ensure that perfection is impossible, and so errors are inevitable. But not all errors are equal, as most are too common to matter, yet when the right combination of rarity, timing, and historical significance align, then you have a masterpiece like the 1982 penny worth $7 million, and this masterpiece has inspired endless debate in the coin community about whether its valuation is justified. But the truth is, value is determined by demand, and if collectors are willing to pay millions, then that is its value, and as time goes on, the legend only grows, meaning future auctions could push the price even higher, making it one of the most legendary modern coins. And that legend has a ripple effect, inspiring more people to take up coin collecting, to check their change, to dream of discovering fortune in the ordinary. And in that way, the 1982 penny does more than sit in a vault. It becomes a beacon for curiosity, history, and imagination, showing us that in a world obsessed with perfection, it is mistakes that sometimes turn out to be the most valuable treasures of all.